Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Riverside Theatre's Backstage Chat, where we get to talk to some of the artists and artisans who work on and around our stages. Led by Alan D. Cornell, producing artistic director, and John R. Moses, our managing director. Riverside Theatre is the only professional theater on Florida's Treasure Coast. So we're thrilled that we start our 24-25 season with A Fox in the Fairway, and I'm very delighted to have most of the cast here with us today. We'll be speaking to Janis, Allison, Elaine, Sandy York, and Carine I worked on this. Montbertrand.
Good, that's excellent.
Sorry for that little faux pas. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't say Montbertrand or something like that.
That was very good.
Carine. Now, Carine and Allison have been here before, so the other four of you, although there are only two here with us on stage, welcome to Riverside, welcome to Vero Beach, and welcome back, Carine and Allison. We're thrilled that you're here. Now, Carine was last here in Lost in Yonkers, and it was directed by Chris Clavelli, who is the director of this show. And Allison was here in Butterflies Are Free a couple of seasons ago, and that was directed by Alan Cornell. So we're glad that you're back in this brand new, wacky, outlandish, very physical Ken Ludwig comedy. I was telling someone, explaining a little bit about what the show was, and I was telling them, think Three's Company, the TV show. And that is what you'll be seeing on stage. It's very physical. The characters are off the chart. They're larger than life. And the situation is quite intriguing, I would say. Now, the two people that we are missing is Rod Brogan, who plays Mr. Bingham, and John Hedges, who plays Dickie. And the relationship of those guys, Mr. Bingham is the managing director, executive director of the Quail Valley Country Club, and Dickie plays the managing director, executive director of the rival country club, the Crouching Squirrel. Interesting name. Yeah. Now, Sandy plays the treasurer of Quail Valley and also a member. She's also Dickie's ex-wife. And Carine plays Mr. Bingham's wife. But there is history between everyone involved. And of course, Nate and Allison play the lovebirds of this story. Can anyone really give us a little synopsis of what the story is about for those who have not yet seen it or will be coming to see it soon?
Well, we're all lovebirds, right?
Yeah.
We're all lovebirds.
I think it's...
All lovebirds, true.
Yeah, it's a play about golf, but it's really about love and mishaps and miscommunications. It's a little Shakespearean in that, just trying to get out alive. Everything that goes wrong, could go wrong, does go wrong. And it's really just about, there's this big tournament and...
golf tournament between Crouching Squirrel and Quail Valley, and it's a yearly event.
For the Interclub Cup.
Ugh.
And sort of everything gets put on the line.
Everyone wants.
Yeah.
A bad bet is made.
Which affects Muriel quite a bit.
Affects me.
Affects everybody.
Yeah.
So again, Ken Ludwig is known for his outlandish sort of characters over the top. And we get to see a lot of physical activity going on. And yes, there are 6 people in the cast, and yes, they are sort of paired up. But there's a lot going on underneath, who's who and who likes whom and that sort of thing. How difficult is it on a show like this, where you're looking for the laugh, to do it when there's not an audience, in the rehearsal hall? How difficult is it for you to sort of be over the top with your characters and not really get a response?
It's quite difficult. And after a while, you get to the point where you really need that audience to come and fuel what the play will become. Sort of up until that point, we're really relying on each other, I think, and one person's choices will inspire somebody else's, and together we're building this energy and height of the style. So for the first week or two, it's just playing with each other and trying to
Yeah, I feel like we all made choices like, well, I think this is funny. I hope other people think it's funny.
But you never know until that moment of truth when the audience is there. So you're going a lot on faith. And
Yeah.
the first night we had an audience, it was.
Were you taken aback? Were you like,
Yeah.
oh, yes, I'm supposed to stop here because people are laughing or applauding or something?
For sure. And it was very reassuring. Always in a comedy, the audience becomes a very important part, important character in it. And to hear those laughs the first night was, it's like medicine.
But it also, it changed, each night they laugh at something a little differently. So it does keep you on your toes.
Okay.
So.
You never quite know what the reaction's going to be.
Yeah, there's a couple, you really hope they laugh at this thing, but I know there's a couple places, like last night I was like, oh, they found that funny. Okay, great.
Yeah, I think also, even though it's a zany farce, we are playing like human beings who want something. So if and instead of focusing on getting the laugh, which hopefully will come, just focusing on the situation that we're in and what we want from the other characters, I think
Right.
the rest of it just comes along.
They're real life characters.
They're real people.
They're over the top in
Yeah.
the sense that their emotions and whatnot are really out there.
They're desperate.
Okay.
Is what it is.
Now, Sandy had mentioned in the script, they sort of give you a bit of what that character is like. However, how much of that is more do you put into it? Does Chris help you sort of flesh out that character even more?
Sure, that's all part of the process. And you had mentioned Three's Company. A reference we were given was Frasier.
Okay.
Also, same kind of idea where it may something that may seem silly, we imbue with extremely high stakes, and that's what underpins the comedy. You had mentioned for looking for laughs, which is a little dangerous in some ways, because if you come in and try to be funny, even though we know what funny is, and we are of course
Correct.
trying to do that, but there's a danger if you're just trying to be funny, it's gonna fall totally flat. If you're investing in your character deep needs that are like way beyond what a normal circumstances would call for, that's what brings the comedy, and the great physical lengths we're going to, and the great lengths of lying that we're going to, and fabricating things is what makes it funny.
It can't be
I'm not
funny
sure I'm
to your
articulating that
character.
well, but-
It's got to be very
Deadly
real,
serious.
need, big struggle. Like I said, like desperate
The
to
need is
save your own
enormous.
skin, and then in the fumbling of that, I think then
The rehearsed fumbling of
that's
that.
the rehearsed fumbling
Absolutely.
of that.
And the script, like, for example, you asked how much it comes from, Chris helps you craft that and your role, and that's certainly true. But with my role, a lot of what she's like is said in the build-up to her entrance. And so, and I don't come on till much later in the play. And what it says about my character is not really how I am physically. I'm very small, and she's described as like a tank and big. And so you really have to, with a part like that, use your imagination, but also collaborate with the costume designer and with the director to make that make sense.
And when you do come through those doors, you are a presence. You are
Thank
a presence.
you, Oscar.
And I mean, because it's been built up.
Right.
Muriel is this, Muriel is this, Muriel is this. And
When she enters, there is a
it's like,
reaction.
okay.
That was one of our really fun, surprising to a certain extent, experiences when we finally had an audience. Because we know that that's funny, but you kind of forget because we keep doing it in
Right.
rehearsal. And also for most of our rehearsals, we're not costumed and made up.
Correct.
And on a set with multiple levels. And So that was really fun to just say, oh, right, yes, of course.
I call it a Tartuffe part because in the play Tartuffe by Molière, Tartuffe doesn't actually show up till Act 3, but they're talking about him all the time. So you have to like create something that makes sense with that build-up.
Correct. And we're recording this podcast on this beautiful set by Kimberly Powers, just tremendous. Unfortunately, normally we record podcasts before the show opens, but because of Hurricane Milton and everything going off the rails for a little while, we're fortunate enough to be able to record it on this beautiful set and see the world that has been created for you guys. Talking about the unfortunateness of the hurricane, how difficult was it for you guys to sort of, I mean, you were not rehearsing for 4 or 5 days. The theater didn't have power for quite a while, and yet you were sort of possibly in limbo. Are we going to open on time? How are we going to move forward? How difficult was it for you to take time off and then get back into the work?
Well, like we've all said, this is a really, really physical show. And it's sort of, even though it's not a musical, there's a rhythm to it. So doing it alone in your room, it doesn't give you that much to work with. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that was a challenge for me. But we all sort of banded together and did a little hotel rehearsal. And
you've all really gelled. I mean, from watching you from the audience, you all work so well together. I'm sure you've been in many shows where casts haven't necessarily gelled, but in this instance, you guys sort of really work together. And the point I'm sort of getting at, it's not a musical, but there is so much choreography in what is going on stage. It's amazing. You know, Sandy has to come in quite a few times, changing clothes, putting on, earrings and whatnot. Muriel comes in through the doors and she's the presence. And you two are so in love, but there is...
Some things go wrong.
Some things go wrong, and there's tension, but there's like...
Will they, won't they?
It's amazing. But you use this whole set so beautifully. Kimberly really did a phenomenal job. And of course, the vision that Chris had to have with regards to, this is what the set is going to be in my mind, this is how I'm going to move you around this place, the Quail Valley Tap Room, takes a lot of effort.
I wish people could see some of the small details of the things that Kim and Chris
Off on the
put
little-
on the set.
On the sides,
It's just really amazing. But I also want to say, I think actors are very scrappy people, and we have to be very flexible in our lives. We're moving around all the time. Sometimes we have a job, sometimes we're secure, sometimes we're not secure, all that stuff. And I think it uniquely makes us prepared for something like losing several days of rehearsal. And having been in the theater a long time, I think the show will get ready within the time that it has. And it just happens. It's one of the miracles and magic of the theater.
Yeah.
So,
if you gave us twice as long, we would still use it.
We would use the whole time, and we would not be ready until that opening day.
But I think it was made easier because you worked so well together.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Great casting and great luck.
Yeah. I think everybody just really came, not that the people themselves are their characters, but just from day one. I feel like John Hedges, he was Dickie when we were doing that table read. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's a big component to how we gel so well. Everybody just understood their characters so thoroughly.
Now, we're recording this a couple of days after opening night. So you've had a few audiences. Have you learned anything by having audiences here that you didn't necessarily catch on or latch on to in rehearsal, that, I didn't realize that was funny, or I need to hold back on more because laughter is a lot longer than I expected?
Oh, yeah. For sure, there are entrances where the audience is still applauding that we have to hold for.
They love Muriel.
Yeah.
There's
I mean,
one
anything with
entrance
Muriel and Dickie, yeah.
We always have, because she exits and they just go wild that we kind of have to hold our entrance.
Yeah.
I'm
there's stuff
milking
that-
it.
It varies show by show too.
Yeah, yeah, every show's.
And that's the beauty of it. You know, they're the next player in this party, and you're reading off of them. You're getting their energy off of them, and hopefully that will give you the energy to continue on.
Well, something we might have thought was funny in rehearsal doesn't really work with the audience, and then you kind of massage it into working, or maybe that's not a thing that's funny. And also the opposite happens, like you get a laugh that you didn't expect at all. It's like, oh, that is funny, you know,
Yeah.
kind
Or
of thing.
it's funny, but
Yeah.
it doesn't get a laughter that a laugh that
Right.
stops the momentum. So it's like, you
Keep going.
you have to be aware that it might happen and then it doesn't, so you have to also be ready to keep going. Because if you pause and there isn't then you got to regain that momentum.
Have you ever done a Ken Ludwig play or another farce type of play where the characters are sort of outlandishly wacky and
Sure.
Yeah.
I did Comedy of Tenors
Yes.
earlier this year, another Ken Ludwig play. And I think Ken Ludwig is kind of amazing. He loves Shakespeare. He
Yes.
really knows how to structure a play and create dialogue that's just really very funny.
he wrote a
Yeah.
book, a children's book
About-
Shakespeare,
Right.
sort of introduction to them.
Yeah. He's clearly a very smart man
Yes,
who
yes.
loves the theater, and right now he's being done everywhere.
Yeah.
With so much physical comedy in this show, is there something that you do to sort of warm up? You know, singers sort of warm up their voices and dancers stretch and whatnot. You're not necessarily singing, but you're definitely dancing, in essence, across the stage. Is there a certain routine that you do to sort of get going or get you in character?
Yeah, I do a vocal and physical warm-up every day before the show, and I try to keep, buzzing, humming when I'm off stage, and then there's also, I can speak to this, there's also a cooling down that I have to do during the show because I'm sweating profusely, so backstage you'll see me with my head in the fan.
He sits and he has a big box
It's a big
fan
box
in his
fan.
lap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things I have to do to
Warm up and cool down.
warm up and cool down.
Actors for any show will warm up their voices, just in a similar way to a singer would. And this one is especially vocally athletic, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also some tongue twister lines in there that you gotta
Right.
Yeah.
that you gotta practice. I feel like it took me like a week to say what is it? Crouching Squirrel for the Interclub Championship. Like it's every
Interclub Cup.
consonant.
Yeah.
It's fast.
that you can
It's
think of.
fast.
Quail Valley, Crouching Squirrel, Quail Valley, Crouching Squirrel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're thrilled that you guys are here. We're thrilled that this is the opening show of our 24-25 season. Fox and the Fairway plays Riverside Theatre through November 10th, and we encourage everyone to come and see it and just sit and laugh, because that's exactly what you will do when you watch these amazing performers on stage, really giving their all and really sharing an interesting story. And you did mention, Sandy, it's not just the young lovers. It's
Oh no.
everyone's a lover. There's a happy ending. Everyone wants a happy ending. There's a happy ending to this, and we're just so thrilled that you guys are here.
Three
And,
sets.
and
Yeah, 3 happy endings.
Three
Yeah.
happy-
Three happy
three
endings.
sets
Three
of
happy
lovers.
endings.
I would also say with this show, we are so in the room with this audience. Like, we are really all here together, even though, we're telling the story. It feels very communal.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, it takes place at a fictional Quail Valley Country Club,
Yeah.
but luckily local residents know that we do have a real
Yes.
Quail Valley Golf Club and River Club, and we are so thankful and grateful to to them for being the sponsors of this show. So thank you,
How
Quail
perfect
Valley.
is that?
They did a phenomenal job with the opening night party, with the food and everything. And desserts were delectable, so we're very grateful for them.
I
And
will also say you don't have to know about golf to enjoy the show.
did you learn something?
I learned so much about golf, but before when I read the script and I didn't know anything, I still thought it was very funny. So it's if you're an avid golfer, you will pick up on a couple jokes made just for you.
But you don't have
But
to
you
know.
don't have to be. No.
So, I wish we had the time to delve into your professional work history, but I know that in a few hours you'll be performing right on this stage. So we'll give you a little time to relax, to do something fun before you come and have fun with the audience. So thank you very much. Continue to enjoy your time in Vero and break legs for every performance going forward. Again, we want to thank the Real Quail Valley Golf Club and River Club for their sponsorship. To our audience, thank you for listening to this episode of Riverside Theatre's Backstage Chat. Until next time, I'm Oscar Sales.